but also a firecracker. You really didn't know what you were going to get. And one day, I'm going behind him and I'm checking some files just to double check, because I'm like, yes, you filed it, but I need to make sure that this is good to go, because if it isn't, it's me who's on the chopping block. And he did not take lightly to that at all. Good morning. Welcome to the Conscious Courage podcast, and happy Sing It With Me Motivational Monday. I am your host, Devaney Tushay. I meet with you all every Monday at 6 a.m. Eastern Standard Time to provide practical steps toward our inner healing journey, or what I've coined internal glow up. So whether you're here for the first time or returning, I thank you for tuning in. The team and I are so grateful to every subscriber via YouTube, every listener on Apple Podcasts, Amazon Music, Google Podcasts, as well as Spotify, and every IGU babe out there who is keeping up with us via social media at CC Podcast with DT. Y'all are locked in, and we are too hyped that you're here. Ensure that you listen through to the end of this episode to receive your practical steps. And also, here's an announcement, y'all. We are seeking 100 downloads via the audio streaming platforms I just mentioned by 1 July 2024. So get out there, listen, download, like, subscribe, all of the things. Okay, let's dive into today's episode. Hey, y'all. I missed y'all. So you're probably like, girl, how you miss us? We see you every single Monday. Listen, y'all see me every single Monday because I pre-record everything, and it's been a minute since I've recorded. As I mentioned in last month, had to leave Texas. We will explore all of my experience in Texas in this here episode. So welcome to the new studio. Yes, this is our new studio. I'm so excited. Reason why I pushed off recording for the month of June for some time, and I'm sharing that I miss you, is because I had to figure out what I want to talk about. And for the month of June, I said, okay, we're halfway through the year. I need to do a follow-up. I need to do a mid-year check-in, see what's going on, seeing how you all are coming along in your New Year's resolution, your goals that you set out for 2024. Then I realized when I created content and videos focused on the new year, I started off 2024 with 7 days of prayer. And I posted those videos, and I was way before the podcast. The podcast wasn't birthed until 1 April. And those videos were for the first 7 days of 2024, January to be exact. I'll ensure to include those like somewhere up in here where it reads as a card, and you can see those. I want to say it was like prayer points for 2024. It's a playlist that I have, because if you didn't know, I've been creating content since 2020, but I did not step into the realm of podcasting and sharing content in a official capacity, official, got a mic and everything, you know what I'm saying, until 1 April 2024. As I dive through to figure out what I want to discuss in this month, from mid-year check-in to whatever else I have written down, I landed on diversity. I landed on adversity. I landed on, I'm going to start the month of June, the month in which we celebrate Juneteenth, with discussing adversity, overcoming adversity, with a subtopic, prepare, serving while melanated. If you didn't know, or if you didn't put the dots together, the clues together, I am a military member, and I don't take that lightly. Love putting on my uniform. And my first time working in a full-time capacity, outside of having a job at Macy's and outside of doing in-home care providing, was military service. And it has been an experience like no other, and taught me so much about myself, about others, and has placed me in environments that outside of the military, I would not have been afforded the opportunities or even a seat at the table, because people would look at me and go, you don't qualify. But in the service, they look at you and go, we will mold you until you qualify. We see something on the inside of you that you don't see in yourself, and we're going to bring it up to the forefront. But as I said, this month's focus is adversity. And so there has been adversity that I faced, not only in the military. As I prepared myself for this episode, I thought all the way back until childhood. So we're going to take it all the way back, and I'm going to add and bring you all the way up to my most recent experience at the school I was in from January to March. And I will never forget that experience. And it's the root and the reason why we are going to take this journey in this episode. I'll unpack it here. But as the month continues, every Monday will not consist of information about this experience or my journey. This is just to start us off. Prepare yourselves. Go get your tea. We getting comfortable in this episode. I don't have many of notes like I normally would read off because it's my story and I don't need notes for my story. Ad break. Are you seeking an electrifying speaker to ignite transformation in your audience? Well, look no further. Hi, I'm Davone'a Tushay, real estate investor, Air Force veteran, and host of the Conscious Courage podcast, where new episodes are released every Monday, 6 a.m. Eastern Standard Time via YouTube and all streaming audio platforms. I specialize in delivering impactful keynote speeches that inspire change and elevate your minds. Whether it's a virtual gathering or an in-person event, I bring passion, expertise, and a unique delivery to every arena or every environment that I'm in. Let's captivate your audience together and create an unforgettable experience. Contact me today to book your next event, and let's embark on this journey of transformation, or let's get all of your attendees on this journey toward internal glow up. You can book me via my website by going to www.davoneatushay.com. I'll spell that for you. It is www.DAV as in Victor, ONEATASHAE.com. I look forward to connecting with you. Take care. So going on back, well, before I dive into it, there are some areas I like to highlight, some definitions I want to ensure I cover before uncovering adversity serving while melanated. So what is the meaning of adversity? Adversity refers to a state of hardship, difficulty, or misfortune that one encounters in life. It encompasses challenging or unfavorable conditions that can include personal struggles, financial problems, health issues, or any obstacles that impede progress or well-being. Adversity often requires resilience, perseverance, and strength to overcome, and can lead to personal growth and character development. When I tell you resilient, personal growth, and character development, yes, that is true. I want to describe to you passive-aggressive behavior. Passive-aggressive behavior is a way of expressing negative feelings indirectly rather than openly addressing them. This type of behavior often involves a disconnect between what a person says and what they do. So that is what they say versus their actions. Instead of directly communicating their anger or frustration, a person displaying passive-aggressive behavior might procrastinate, give backhanded compliments, or deliberately perform tasks ineffectively. This indirect approach can create confusion and tension in relationships as the underlying issues are not clearly addressed. What is a glass ceiling? And I'm breaking these down because these are terms that I will reference during this time, and I don't want you wondering and thinking, what is this girl talking about? No, baby, I'm going to give it to you up front so then you can follow as we continue. What is a glass ceiling? A glass ceiling is a metaphorical barrier that prevents certain individuals, often women and minorities here, from advancing to higher levels of leadership or success within an organization or field despite their qualifications or achievements. This barrier is invisible in the sense that it is not a formal policy, but rather a result of implicit biases, systematic inequalities, and cultural norms that limit opportunities for advancement. The concept highlights the challenges and obstacles faced by underrepresented groups in achieving equal career progression and recognition. I'm also going to break down crabs in a barrel because adversity, some may presume, automatically is racially driven, where it's one race as the oppressor or another race as the one who is being oppressed. And sometimes it looks like people that look just like you as the oppressor. And that in itself has its own term, and that is crabs in a barrel. I mean, this can be used for other matters, but when I use it, I'm going to reference it as other Black people, African American, because Black is really a shade, African Americans or other melanated men and women that sought to oppress. So crabs in a barrel is a metaphor used to describe a situation where individuals within a group pull each other down rather than supporting each other to succeed. The term comes from the behavior observed in crabs when placed in a barrel. As one crab tries to climb out, the others will pull it back down, ensuring that none of them escape. This analogy is often used to illustrate how people, particularly within marginalized or competitive communities, may hinder each other's progress out of envy, fear, or scarcity mindset, rather than working together to overcome collective challenges and achieve success. This is my final definition because I will bring up Juneteenth. If not in this episode, then maybe some to come, but it's worth addressing and highlighting because we are in the month of June. So June 19th, also known as Juneteenth, is a significant day in American history. It is the announcement of abolishment of slavery in Texas on June 19th, 1865, and more broadly, the emancipation of enslaved African Americans throughout the former Confederate States of America. Although the Emancipation Proclamation was issued by President Abraham Lincoln on January 1st, 1863. It took more than 2 years for the news to reach some parts of Texas and for Union troops to enforce emancipation there. Juneteenth has grown in recognition and is celebrated with various events and activities throughout, and as of 2021 has become an official federal holiday. Make sure my phone is on silent as well as do not disturb. So adversity, as far back as I can remember, well, not as I can remember, because growing up where we grew up in the Bay Area, the majority was African American, Asian, and Hispanic. Like, that was the majority. And then eventually we moved further up north and landed in Sacramento, where I walked into class as the only Black student, if I'm not mistaken, in my class, and the teacher refused to call me by my first name, Devaney, and instead shortened my name to D. But I didn't have a bad experience in that school, in elementary actually. I can remember the change really needing to take place within me because I was such a tomboy and just rough, and growing up with the neighborhood kids when we were in the Bay Area and my cousins and such, and we were rough, okay? And although I'm a female, I was out there with the boys, tussling, let's wrestle, we climbing trees, like all of the things, okay? So I can remember, like, someone will want to talk to me or whatever the case may be, and I might hit them, like, don't talk to me. And then, your environment allows you to change. And that's what I do appreciate about service. It brought to light so much and has allowed me to morph into the woman that I am today, or grow into the woman that I am today. Never discounting God's grace and mercy upon my life, as well as his favor and light that shines not only on me, but shines through me. Okay, let me say that. I'm not discrediting the Lord whatsoever, in case I just get in the zone of telling the story and I don't magnify my God. Okay. Now, as I progressed, so after elementary school and we transitioned into middle school, at this time, the schoolhouse was still like K through 8, and then you would leave and you go on to middle school. I want to say we applied for me to join a program which is called AVID. The program was for a select few. By the time I made it to middle school, it was a lot more diverse. My middle school was like in a different part of town. And so you had a diversification in a higher population of Hispanic and African American and just more sun-kissed children. And let me say this, when we moved to Sacramento, that was my first time learning of other ethnicities and like Russian being one. And I remember having the biggest crush on this one student because his voice was so deep, and then just hearing him speak Russian, and he probably were talking about me. I had no idea. Okay. And I was trying to learn. The only thing I know is duh. And that means yeah, if I'm not mistaken, or yes. But okay, fast forward to middle school. No, actually, I'm going to go back to elementary, and that's because I've learned how to, man, I don't want to say be a chameleon. I think that that's not appropriate. What I learned was to accept and to love and to be welcoming to everyone. Like, Sacramento is a melting pot, and I don't have the statistics, but it's one of the larger cities in which you have a little bit of everyone from a little bit of everywhere, and that does nothing but wonders to interpersonal skills. How do you approach and understand people? How do I show up, etc.? So skipping back to middle school, okay, y'all, I'm in this program. Now coming up, you see how I like to talk? I like to talk then too, but it was probably a little more like class clownish. I have this innate gift, okay, of just bringing joy through laughter, through entertainment, through talking, whatever. And so that did get me hemmed up a little bit. But for the most part, I participated in class. I had my work done, an honest woman or young lady, integrity, all of it. But there were three particular teachers that did not care for me. One, I'm just going to call him Mr. T. So, what's his last name with a T? I think it was. But, so it was him. There was two Hispanic women, actually. One was a history teacher. Mr. T was our English teacher. And the other Hispanic woman was like an elective teacher. I want to say she was head over the program, or she had some leadership role over the program, potentially board member, something like that. These three teachers stand out to me because that was my introduction to adversity, my introduction to, dare I say, racism, my introduction to the passive aggressive behavior, my introduction to ostracism, my introduction to being pointed out, right? And so the English teacher, I can remember, he would call home. He would call my mom. And one time he told him that I was intimidating him because I was mean mugging him in class. And I was like, Mom, if he's talking, I'm looking at him while he's talking. Like, if my face comes off a certain way, that's not, this is before people said, oh, I have a resting whatever kind of face. I am intently listening to what the man is saying, not mugging him, whatever. The Hispanic history teacher, I don't remember what it was, but what was ironic is some of my younger siblings had that same Hispanic history teacher, and they experienced some of the same actions and behavior. So it wasn't a me thing. Sounds like may have been something underlying there. And then there was the head woman. And now in her class, I can recall probably been talking a little bit too much and having too much fun in the back of the classroom. But none of this took away from who I am or who I was as a student. Well, let's go ahead and progress on into high school, where I was removed from this program. But I was still with my class. So one of the things with that class is you're with the same people, and you go off to like colleges together. So I remember going to UC Davis, and I don't think it was in middle school, but maybe high school, where I applied because I was an aspiring veterinarian. So I applied for this program that allowed me to go to the veterinarian clinic within UC Davis with some of my classmates, like this stuff, right? Good things. So it wasn't like, oh my gosh, woe was me, my childhood was awful. No, but I have to paint this picture and show you the adversity that will then translate into serving while melanated. So when I'm in high school, what are we in now? 9th grade. I'm still with those same classmates that I was with when I was in middle school. And I remember one of the teachers at the end of the class, like by the time it was either time for us to transition into 10th grade, or we were leaving that class to like change our schedule and go to the other classes, whichever it was, I just remember him telling me like, you're nothing like they said that you were. And I'm like, what do you mean? I don't even know. Who is they? What are you talking about? And he told me how those 3 teachers that I mentioned from middle school huddled together and they voted, and this is not verbatim, but like they voted to have me removed from the program. What? All because of what? Was I getting Fs? Was I coming in late? Was I not? Because you had a teacher. Okay, I was too talkative. Copy. Got it. But to remove a student from a program because of that, was I disruptive? Was I causing a distraction, causing something in which the lessons couldn't go forth? Class could no longer take place? Was I threatening in any way? Like, what exactly? Okay, I talk too much. Got it. So when you have people in positions that can make choices for you, and those people can have implicit biases, or those people could have underlying dislike of a particular ethnicity or race, or have their own stereotypical thoughts, whatever the case may be, and then use that positional authority to strip you of opportunities. That is profound. That is what? But okay, I learned from that. And as I progressed on through high school, guess who was no longer talkative? Still had the same work ethic, still was getting after the information and doing my assignments. I did have one class that I would leave out of sometimes, and it was my Spanish class. I think I was in 10th grade. By then I had my friends and stuff, and sometimes might leave class a little early to wander the halls and just laugh and talk, right? But I passed Spanish, okay? Está bien. So anyway, get through high school, and it was 11th grade, if I'm not mistaken. I had the same English teacher in like 11th grade, 12th grade, something like that, maybe 12th, that I had in middle school. And out of nowhere, I was his favorite student. He loved me. I enjoy writing, y'all. I enjoy talking. I enjoy writing. And he would highlight my essay papers and really just took a liking to me out of nowhere. And I'm like, you the same guy that had me removed from the program. You remember that? But I guess because I grew up. And it's just interesting to see how the tables will turn in not a sense of I was over him in any way, but I wonder if there was a remnant of, wow, I should not have done this, like from the teacher. If there was any part of him that thought like, okay, maybe we went overboard or we didn't have to go that far, whatever the case may be. I wonder. Maybe that's why I became his favorite. No, I'm just kidding. I'm good at English. I enjoy English. So I don't know if I'm leaving anything out, because I do want to get into my recent experience that has had the greatest impact on me. So I'm going to go ahead and skip on and not just belabor this. Getting on into the military, of the majority, okay, we do something called we did something then called the seasonal training plan, in which your unit would bring you out for about like 90 days or so when you come out of technical school to teach you the unit rules of engagement, but also so you can apply what you learned while at school, but back home. So there were a number of us. Oh my gosh, that was a great time. There were a couple of girls, and we were a mixed group, but our diverse group was the majority. And I share that because it just created an environment where we could be ourselves. Sometimes we got in trouble because we were we're like 19, 20, right? Having a good time, going out, hanging out. It was just a great time. Really good leaders, like within that cohort, senior NCOs that were patient with us. Also had to bring correction though, because we needed that. And that was my introduction to weightlifting. Well, like the senior NCO, I think she was a senior, or maybe she was an NCO at the time, she would take us out for lunch. And we'd all go to the gym and do gym workouts. So we were doing squats and bench press and everything. And that's where I got my love for weightlifting from. Just threw that out there. But I can remember at that time, I'm maybe A1C walls or something. And we had a master sergeant. And he was buddy with us. Like, he brought forth information that we needed. He taught us. But I can remember a time where he had to put the smack down on us, because I don't remember what we did as a group, or maybe we were just too rowdy. I don't know. I don't recall. And when I say rowdy, I don't really mean rowdy. I mean like we probably should have been studying and we were giggling too much. That's what I mean when I say rowdy, so let me clarify. And I can remember sitting with him and saying, respectfully, sir, it's like, pick a side. Do you want to be our supervisor and our leader, or do you want to be our friend? Because you started off as our friend and now you want to transition into authoritative senior NCO, and it's hard to receive. It's hard. And he was receptive to that. And I can remember him saying, like, you can go far and you can do this, you can do that, right? So just overall a good conversation. And I will keep that as a tool in my belt as I progress on through my life and take on additional supervisory roles and positions, management positions on both the civilian as well as the military side. But I digress. All right, y'all, let's get into the nitty gritty. So at my unit where I started off at a squadron, and our supervisor, and I say our because there was another, at the time we were young, so I'm gonna say young lady. Now we grown, okay? She engaged, babies, the whole nine. She's living a really great life. But at that time, our supervisor did not know what to do with us. She had a different job. And so she would just like farm us out, loan us to other offices, which really worked out in the long run for us, or I'll speak for myself, for me, because although on paper I was admin, my skill set was all finance. So I worked in our defense finance travel system area. I worked in mail pay for all of a second. Okay, BAH1 and BAH2, military know what I'm talking about. You got to go in the system and make sure and count people leave and stuff. Didn't stay in there long. Then I moved over to the budget side, which they really didn't use me over in budget. It was more like, make sure these binders or stuff is done. And I think they were teaching me some stuff, but I wasn't over there that long. My background was in finance, and the budget part just was its own animal, and I did not pick up that animal. So farmed out, I'm working in these different areas, meeting connects, my work ethic, my personality, and I'm learning about things. An opportunity comes up open at the wing level, and it's for a staff sergeant position. Yeah, by this time, I'm sure I'm a senior airman. It's for a staff sergeant position, and I'm like, I'll take it. Like, my unit's not using me to what I know I can produce and do, so I'm going to apply for this opportunity, receive the opportunity, start working on wing staff as a senior airman in the front office in the commander support section. At this time, there are 2 federal service members. Love working with federal service members. Hey, I'm now one. And a woman and a male. The woman maybe at that time was in her 50s and the male was in his 60s or so. I am all of still like 19, 20, maybe 21. I think 20 though. And adversity number 1. My supervisor, because I'm on wing staff, was the executive who was a major. But my interactions was with a technical sergeant. This technical sergeant was an African American, like from Africa, and now lives in America. And this is who I report to. Good rapport, starting off. I would watch her children for her. She would go out of town, get a room on base, in which I don't think any of this was actually like legal now that I think about it, but I didn't know any better, whatever, and I'm always here to help. So I'm staying in the room with her children while she's out living her best life. I go to work, and then I go check in on them on the weekend, and then I'd spend the night overnight, just making sure they're good, that they can eat. And this same woman began to micromanage, but like to the 13th degree. And it became extremely uncomfortable to a point where I was like, I no longer want to go to work. Like, this is not healthy. And other people saw it. So it's something when other people see it. And I was like, all right, let me try and figure this out. I cannot talk to her. Not that I can't, but she will not receive from me. And the underlying, I would say, reason was simply she, as a tech sergeant, did not like people coming to me as the senior airman to get things done, for questions, whatever the case may be, because she's of a higher ranking. The unfortunate piece was the knowledge or the understanding or even the execution piece of getting the job done wasn't there, and people knew they could come to me. I was efficient, effective, timely. We're going to get, like, I will handle it. And if I don't, I know who to go to get it accomplished. That's just what it was. So when I realized I could no longer communicate with her in getting an understanding, I was like, okay, our chain of command, I'm going to go to her supervisor, which is my supervisor, which is the major. Like, hey, can you at least mediate, do something? 'Cause this is becoming a toxic environment. I don't think he did anything. So I went to his supervisor, which, I mean, it's the wing commander. I can't help it that I'm at wing staff and this is just kind of how it goes. And the wing commander looked at me and was like, well, what do you want me to do? And I'm a senior airman and I'm like, I don't know what to tell this full bird colonel to do. I'm thinking, like, can you give me the answer? Like, save me. That's what I want. Help me. Okay. And that was just, no one had the answer until a staff sergeant at that time came on board. And she became the barrier between us. She would try and mediate. She started to document. She spoke up on my behalf and was like, this is just foul treatment. Like, this is not it. That executive that I initially spoke to eventually left, and we would have rotating executives that came in to fill the position or backfill the position. And one of them caught wind to what was going on and said, you know what? This is not right. I'm going to phone who is now the Air Force Reserve Command Chief, who was the Wing Command Chief, who I worked with. And, well, actually, I don't think he said he's going to phone them. I'm sorry. I think, if I'm not mistaken, just in a conversation that he was having, he shared what was going on with me and what I was experiencing to the now Air Force Reserve Command Chief. And the Air Force Reserve Command Chief reached out and said, hey, there's an opportunity that's going to come up for people to provide services at this level and you should apply. Pause. What the devil means for bad will turn out for my good and will turn around for my good. I will always receive the glory in it all. The weapons may form, but they will not prosper, as written in Isaiah 54, verse 17. So as I was going through the adversity, the roadblock, the consistent toxicity, and there's so much more that I can unpack, but I really want to get to my recent experience and some other experiences, that there was a ram in the bush. There was someone that looked and said, this isn't right. Although I kept trying, I was telling, like, hey, y'all, something isn't right here. This isn't right. What was taking place was preparing me for my next step, or was a shoe into the next opportunity, if I could say it that way. So and that isn't it. Part 2 of working in that office, as I mentioned, there were the 2 civilians, 1 female or 1 woman and 1 male. And the male, he was so sweet, but also a firecracker. You really didn't know what you were going to get. And one day, I'm going behind him and I'm checking some files just to double check, because I'm like, yes, you filed it, but I need to make sure that this is good to go, because if it isn't, it's me who's on the chopping block. And he did not take lightly to that at all. And I remember him spinning around in his chair, because my desk was right along the window, and then there was the office for the deputy commander, a printer, and then that gentleman's desk. And then the woman's desk was in the center of the office with the wing commander behind her. And then in front of the civilian gentleman was the executive's office. And then you walk out and there is the lobby area, and then you can continue down the hallway and there's all these other places. So I paint the picture because, again, his desk is right in front of me, if you will, and he spins around and he's like, I don't like that you check the papers behind me. And I'm like, nothing against you, just need to make sure, the filing, that is good to go, because if we have a inspection, I have to answer to that. This man, y'all, got up out of his desk and walks over. Mind you, I said I'm 21, walks over to my desk, and he's doing one of these numbers in my face. And I stood up, and I really don't know what happened. I stood up, and there seemed to be a moment in which I blinked, and then I came back to, and I was like, I have to leave. There's no way I'm going to accept someone talking to me this way, this kind of a treatment. I have to go. This is unacceptable. Okay, y'all, this concludes part 1 of 3. Ensure you return on Wednesday to hear the rest of the story on how I've overcome adversity as an African American woman from grade school all the way through present day. Disclaimer: as a content creator with a background in psychology and ongoing studies in mental health at the graduate level, it's important to clarify that I am not a licensed professional. The videos and podcasts I produce are intended for educational, information, entertainment, and transformational purposes only. While I strive to provide accurate information and insight, it's essential to consult with a licensed mental health professional for clinical perspectives and personalized advice tailored to your specific needs. Your mental well-being is of the utmost importance, and seeking guidance from a qualified provider is encouraged for any concern or issues that you may be experiencing.